won't." He refused to budge an inch, so in a very fierce voice I commanded Poetry and Circus, "Okay, cannibals, eat him up." "They're not cannibals," Dragonfly whined. "They're goats, and goats only eat tin cans and shirts and things like that." "What's the difference?" the roly-poly goat said, and started head first for Dragonfly. But we couldn't afford to waste time that way, so Poetry, being maybe the bravest one of us, went up to the door while we held our breath. I knew that there wasn't anybody inside, but wondered if there was. And if there was, who was it? And was he dangerous? And what would happen if there was a fierce man in there? First, Poetry brushed away the spiderweb. Then he knocked on the door. Nobody answered, so we knocked again and called, "Hello, anybody home?" He waited, and so did we, but there wasn't any answer. So he turned the knob, twisting it this way and that, and the door didn't open. He turned around to us and said, "It's locked." Well, I had it in the back of my mind that the ransom money might be in that cabin, and that we ought to go in and look, as I told you, not thinking that it was trespassing on somebody's property to go in without permission. We found a window on the side of the cabin right next to the hill, which on that side of the house was kind of like a cliff. That window, when we tried it, was unlocked. "You go in and unlock the door from the inside and let us in," I said to my acrobatic goat, and he said, "It's private property." Well, that second I felt a drop of rain on my face, and that's what saved the day and made it seem all right for us to go inside. We all must have been so interested in following the trail of broken branches, and in our game of Robinson Crusoe, that we hadn't noticed the lowering sky and the big thunderheads that had been creeping up. Only a few seconds after that first drop of rain splashed onto my freckled face, there was a rumble of thunder, and then another, and then it started to rain. We could have ducked under some trees for protection, but it was that kind of rain that seems as if the sky has burst open and water just drives down in blinding sheets. "It's raining pitchforks!" Circus yelled above the roar of the wind in the trees. He quick shoved up the window and scrambled in. All of us scrambled in after him and slammed down the window behind us. The rain was coming down so hard that it made a terrible roaring on the shingled roof. Reminded me of storms back at Sugar Creek when I was in the haymow of our barn. If there was anything I liked to hear better than almost anything else, it was rain on a shingled roof. Sometimes when I was in the upstairs of our house, I would open the attic door on purpose just to hear the friendly noise the rain made. It was darkish inside the old cabin because the walls were stained with a dark stain of some kind, maybe to protect the wood, the way some North Woods cabins are. It was also dark because the sky outside was almost black with terribly heavy rain clouds. I noticed that the window we'd climbed through was the kitchen window, and that there was a table with a few dirty dishes over next to the wall. Also, there was a white enameled sink and an old-fashioned pitcher pump, like the one we have outdoors at our house at Sugar Creek. The main room, where the fireplace was in the center of the cabin, and was so dark you could hardly see anything clearly at first. But I did see 2 big colored pictures on the back wall. We didn't even bother to look around inside the cabin for a while. Anyway, I didn't. I hurried out onto the porch at the front just to get a look at the storm. Storms are one of the most interesting sights in the world. They make a boy feel strange inside, as if maybe he isn't very important. They also make him feel that he needs the one who made the world in the first place to sort of look after him, which is the way I felt right that minute. I noticed that there was a sheer drop of maybe 15 feet right straight down into the ravine, and I remembered that if anybody wanted to get out of the cabin by a door, he'd have to use the only one there was, which was the one that had been locked when Poetry tried the knob. I also noticed there were 2 or 3 whiskey bottles on the front porch. One with the stopper still in it was half full, standing on a 2x4 ledge running across the front. I could see better out there, although the terribly dark clouds and also the big pine trees all around with their branches shading the cabin made it kind of dark even on the porch. 2 big colored pictures were on the back wall of the porch. The pictures were advertising whiskey and showed important-looking people drinking or getting ready to. Circus had come out, and I looked at him out of the corner of my eye, remembering how his dad used to be an alcoholic before he had trusted the Lord Jesus to save him. Circus was looking fiercely at those pictures, and I noticed he had his fists doubled up, as though he wished he could sock somebody or something terribly hard. I was glad right that minute that little Tom Till wasn't there, because his daddy was still an alcoholic.